What's up, y'all? It's Shuffle, and today we're talking about iconic duos in Darkest Dungeon. These are pairs of characters that are just very good together, and they're easy to build around, and oftentimes they can carry a team by themselves if the other two people are just warm bodies. If I counted correctly, I have 10 of them ready for you today, so we're going to try and get through this a bit quicker than the last video. And before we get started, if you like the video, make sure you give it a thumbs up, comment if you have some ideas that I missed that you want to talk about, or join Discord, and then obviously I stream on Twitch 4 days a week if you want to go check that out, and of course Patreon is pretty cool if you want to do that as well. So starting off with the first duo that we're talking about, I talked about in the last video. This is Plague Doctor and Flagellant. These two together are very powerful. They have a lot of damage over time effects. Plague Doctor can help Flagellant heal his reclaim bleeds, and then Flagellant can do some really good damage over time on front units, just like Plague Doctor can. There's bleed synergy between them with Incision. There's just a lot of stuff going on here. They both appreciate speed greatly. It doesn't really matter which one goes first usually, except for Reclaim Bleeding Flagellant. But between the two of them, their heavy damage over time effects and their synergy with healing and stuff like that, the enemy takes a lot of damage very quickly in terms of damage over time, and they both cleave, which is very nice. So Flagellant can use Rain of Sorrows on turn 1, that's already doing some damage. Plague Doctor can stun on turn 1 with Blinding Gas, so that stuns both backliners. Then turn 2, you use another Rain of Sorrows plus Plague Grenade. At this point, if everything sticks, your damage over time effects are up to 16 points a turn. You're going to chew through any backline duo in the game except for like the most hardy of backlines or size 2 enemies within 3 turns by doing this. Especially like if you stun them on turn 3, even if for some reason they live with 2 hit points, they're stunned and they're going to die on turn 4. It is a very effective duo, and it's one of my favorites to run. The next power couple is actually 2 of the same class, and that is Bounty Hunter. Bounty Hunter is an interesting unit because when he's by himself, he has the ability to be a very good offensive setup character, but also he can do a lot of damage. So it's kind of like, do I run this guy as control or do I run him as damage? You can do both very effectively. That's completely cool. But what's interesting is when you put 2 bounty hunters together, they synergize very well, where one can be the controlling bounty hunter with the mark and the setup and disruption, and then the other one can just do straight damage, and that's pretty cool. So that's why, I think it was Midnight who explained it this way, that they are both a setup and payoff character, which I totally agree with. So when you think about bounty hunter like that, it gets pretty interesting. If you decide to run 2 bounty hunters together, make sure that one is faster than the other. You don't need to do this, and if you can't do this, like you don't have the trinkets or the quirks to make it happen, then you can just run the same kit on both, just in case one goes before the other. But ideally you want to make one faster than the other, especially the one that's going to be marking, because you get another speed boost on top of it. This way you get to consistently set up the second bounty hunter, which is just pure damage, which is pretty nice, so you get to use all your collect bounties or finish him for free without having to worry about the setup being there. Of course, other Mark Synergy heroes work just fine with Bounty Hunter, but Bounty Hunter is pretty cool because he is flexible. He can be in rank 1 with Uppercut and Mark and Collect Bounty and all that. He can be in rank 3 with a lot of his moves too. He just loses, I think, Uppercut, and that's it, which is pretty cool. So there's just so much flexibility in this class. Like having a melee unit in rank 3 is really interesting and opens up some options, which I like quite a bit. So if you enjoy Bounty Hunter as a character, try putting 2 of them on a team and see what happens. The next pair is the one you start with, Dismas and Reynolds, so Highwayman and Crusader. These two are very strong together for a couple different reasons. The first is it doesn't matter where you put them in the party. You can put them in the back and have a duelist advance with pistol shot type of thing, and then have Holy Lance to help clean up kills on Crusader. That's really awesome. Another thing you can do is using Crusader support abilities, so you have a healer that can heal from anywhere with Battle Heal and Inspiring Cry. So Crusader doesn't care about getting moved out of position when Highwayman jumps around. That's pretty nice as well. And then the final part of it is that Highwayman is pretty versatile in how he deals damage. He can do bleeding, he can do direct damage, he can riposte, he can reach into rank 4, he can blow up rank 1 with point blank shot, and Crusader can provide him with a lot of support. There's so much synergy between these two characters, it's no real secret why you would start with both of them. The 2 of them are good enough together that depending on whoever else you put on the team, you can just shift them around. So if you have a couple frontliners, you can put these 2 in the back. If you have a strong rank 1 like Hellion, or a strong rank 4 like Plague Doctor or Vestal or something like that, you can put them in those positions and then put these 2 in the middle. especially because of the speed differential, which means that because of Duelist Advance going first almost all of the time and then Holy Lance going second, you can always adjust your positioning as needed. Sticking on the Highwayman train, the next pair is Highwayman and Antiquarian. You can also use Man-at-Arms for this because the main draw of this type of duo is to use Protect Me alongside some kind of riposte mechanic. This is just very strong because it funnels more damage into your riposte user while also giving them more defenses, which is really nice. It gives you another way to deal with Antiquarian's frailty because she is not a very hardy character. She has some pretty solid dodge that she can get up to, which is nice, but her like actual HP value isn't that strong. She has no protection besides making someone else guard her, and that's pretty cool. So you always have a consistent target for Protect Me. You have someone that can make use of Antiquarian's various other abilities like Flash Powder or Festering Vapors or Get Down to help positioning and stuff like that. And it creates this situation of the running joke where they call Antiquarian a stand user, if you're familiar with JoJo's, and I think Thick calls her Josephine Joestar, which is pretty funny. And that's pretty much what it is, if you consider the fact that she forces something to protect her and they just attack everything that comes near her. It is very fitting to be a JoJo character. I probably could have led the video with this pair, and this is the Jester and Vestal pair. This is called Jestal by the community, and this pair is one of the most recovery-oriented backlines that you can put on a team, to the point where it doesn't really care who's up front, as long as the two units up front can do any moderate amount of damage. Although Leper, Hellion, and Shieldbreaker do pair very well, or I shouldn't say pair at this point, but they fit very well into this archetype. Jestal does have its issues, because the two of them take up your backline slots, so you don't have really good reach into rank 4 between the two of them besides Finale and Judgment. So if you're not running those, or if you're not looking to use Finale or Judgment consistently, then it kind of struggles with killing rank 4 specifically, which is usually a dangerous spot on the enemy team. So you need someone like Shieldbreaker or Hellion to really take down those backline threats. But if you can solve those problems, this pair has so much recovery output that if you give it a couple turns to stall at the end of most fights, like you just stun the remaining tank unit that does, you know, like 8 damage a hit, so it's not a huge threat. You just stun that once or twice and then slowly kill it while the two of them in the back just pump out a bunch of healing and stress healing. And most teams can survive safely if it gets enough time to recover. It's no secret that this is one of the most common backlines that most players, especially newer players, default to, and that's not a bad thing. It's very easy to play, it's very high value, and it's very safe. So a lot of the more experienced players usually move away from Jestal. They talk sometimes negatively about it, but there are times to bust this combo out, and it still does its job very well. You just have to make sure that you're giving it time to recover, and it fixes a lot of mistakes that other teams usually can't handle without more advanced game knowledge. The next pair is not as catchy of a name as Jestal. It's not Lester. We can't call it Lester, but it would be Leper and Jester together. These two are interesting because Jester fixes pretty much all of Leper's issues. Leper doesn't have strong crit modifiers for as much damage as he deals. That's kind of another limiting factor that he has. But Leper suffers from accuracy issues and he appreciates speed, and Jester gives him both of those while also giving him a huge spike in damage potential with boosted crit rate through Battle Ballad. Where most of the pairs that we talk about, there is some obvious like back and forth where one gives some stuff and the other gets some stuff for it. The combination of Leper and Jester is really one-sided. You get Jester who buffs up Leper, and Leper is such an independent character that after he has like plus 20 or 30 accuracy, he's good to go and become a wood chipper. So when you have Jester there, it's really just something that funnels a bunch of effective value into Leper, and then he just goes off, like the true king that he is. Another nice part about this pairing is that since Leper has Solemnity, he actually doesn't need Jester to babysit his stress management, so he doesn't need Jester to stress heal him, which is pretty cool. So Leper gets his independence besides just having the extra accuracy. And there are a lot of characters that can work in this shell. So a shell refers to like two people in this case. So this pair of units, you can put a lot of other things in there. You can put like just some healer like Arbalest, and then just run some other character alongside that. You can run literally almost whoever you can think of between these two, and it will do very well. Another really strong team that Thick put me onto was Leper, Occultist, Jester, and Plague Doctor. So Plague Doctor and Occultist synergize very well, and then you have Jester and Leper, and Jester also helps Occultist in that situation, so there's just a lot of good stuff between these two, and every unit in the game likes Battle Ballad, even some of the less offensively oriented ones, like Vestal. The next duo is going to be Grave Robber and Crusader. I like these two together quite a bit for a few different reasons. The main reason is that since Crusader is so slow as a character, he can guarantee that Grave Robber gets a second lunge like the turn after. So you put Grave Robber in rank 4, she lunges up to 2, Crusader goes back to 3, Crusader Holy Lances after that at the end of the turn because he's so slow, and then you get a second lunge on the turn after. This is very easy to pull off and very effective, which is why I like it a lot. The other reason I like the two of them together is that Crusader can heal from anywhere, and he has stuff to do in any position. So when Grave Robber is jumping around between Lunge and Shadow Fade, Crusader just doesn't have his job impacted at all. And then when Grave Robber goes into Stealth, Crusader has enough HP and defensive value that if he's in the back line or something like that with her and he gets focus fired, he's completely fine, so he can take a lot of punishment. There is a lot of synergy between these two units, so a lot of common dance teams with Grave Robber lunge spam usually involve Crusader because it's so effective and easy to pull off. Got another Grave Robber pairing here. This one's my personal favorite for Grave Robber because a lot of people say Plague Doctor is good with Grave Robber, and there is some synergy there, but I actually like Abomination a lot more with Grave Robber, and the reason is that Abomination can stun targets while Grave Robber lunges up to the front in order to protect her from a lot of direct damage. Another reason is that between Beast Bile and the lunge synergy off of Blight, Abomination can set up a lot of bonus damage for Grave Robber on rank 3 and 2, which is her primary lunge target in most cases, and that is just very helpful in general. The final reason is that Abomination, if you're using him in human mode, or even if you do transform, he doesn't really care about getting moved into rank 3, so if you lunge past him and put him into rank 3, he can still use all of his human abilities to do stuff to help Grave Robber, and then if you transform, you can slam to move back up and use your cool melee moves, and if you do that, you actually set yourself up for a second lunge. So there's a lot of synergy between these two characters, not just from the Blight obviously, but the movement to set up second lunge, and then the extra stun on top, and the self-reliance, or I should say self-sustain of Abomination with Absolution. All of it's just really good together, and I like it quite a bit. Arbalest and Occultist is another one. Arbalest can pair very well with like any of the Mark heroes, but I like her quite a bit with Occultist, and that's mostly to help Occultist more than anything else, because Occultist for Arbalest, he can do things like stun the front line to keep things, in check while Arbalest snipes the backliners. Occultist has an inconsistent heal, and Arbalest has a very consistent heal that's very good, and also stacks healing received. So being able to make sure that Occultist doesn't screw the team by rolling 0 and bleeding someone means that Arbalest can offset that and then set up his future heals. Very nice synergy there. Arbalest is slower than Occultist, so that way Arbalest can make use of Occultist's vulnerability hex, which is his mark move. So he can mark a rank 4 for her to lower the dodge a little bit if she needs it, and then she can get all her bonus damage against it. Very cool. He can also use Weakening Curse on anything that has prot, which helps her shoot and do damage to those. Also nice. And then the final thing that I like between the two of them is that they both have some solid camp skills, and they don't need to be both in the back line. So you can have one up front and the other in the back. You can use your cool camp skills and your mark synergy, your stuns, and then cover for those inconsistent heals. There's a lot of stuff going on between these two, and I like to run them together quite often. The final pair for this video, by no means the final pair for the entire just list of pairs that are possible, is Flagellant and Man-at-Arms. So I did want to have something with Man-at-Arms in this video just because he's a very interesting support unit. And Flagellant and Man-at-Arms are interesting together because they have some synergy that may not be apparent at first. So what I like the most between them is that Flagellant is a unit that gets stronger when he gets into low HP. He gets a damage bonus. He also gets access to things like Exsanguinate and Redeem. And then you have the nice part of Man-at-Arms with the fact that he can guard Flagellant, so you can protect Flagellant when he's at low HP, so you can save your Exsanguinate. You don't have to burn it immediately to keep Flag alive. That's really nice. Something that I always talk about with Man-at-Arms is that stress is his biggest vulnerability, and Flagellant can use Endure to heal Man-at-Arms stress and then camp it off later if you're not running Suffer. That's really nice to have as well. Also in the idea of camp skills is the fact that tactics helps Flagellant a lot. Flagellant gets some bonus dodge, which is never bad on any hero at all, and then you get the bonus crit on top of it, and Flagellant having crit is pretty nice. The bonus crit chance makes your bleeds last longer, it gives them a 20% bonus chance to stick, and then of course any crit stress heals yourself or the team. That's all very nice to have. There is one final synergy which may be a meme to a lot of people watching, but something I really like between these two is since Flagellant can be up front in rank 1 or 2, you can actually put Man-at-Arms in rank 4 and run Guardian Shield. Guardian Shield is not usually a common trinket just because the moveset of rank 4 Man-at-Arms isn't that strong, but there are some fights in the game where it is very powerful to have rank 4 Man-at-Arms, and then you have this healing received buff on top of the defensive stats of Guardian Shield, and that really helps Reclaim and Redeem if you decide to use both of those, or at least one of them. Reclaim gets the boosted healing, which makes it very strong on Man-at-Arms in that position, and then if for some reason Man-at-Arms does get beat up and Flagellant is low HP, you can use Redeem to get a lot of extra HP because of the healing bonus. Alright y'all, that's going to do it for this one. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you're thinking down below in terms of the teams, or I should say duos, that I listed and the duos that you're thinking of. There are obviously a lot of pairs that you can make in this game, so I think these were just some of the ones that seem very strong or interesting. That's why I cover them specifically. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up like we always talk about. Drop some comments if you want to talk about the video or whatever. Join Discord if you want to talk to me or other cool people. Follow the Twitch stream and Patreon if you want to help support the channel. The next video is another case of I haven't written it yet, so I have no idea what it is. Otherwise, look out for more Twitch VODs and stuff like that. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.